Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us at this beautiful site. And I want to thank all the workers and the people who are ready to respond to the weather events as we're getting very concerning forecasts. But I first want to acknowledge the invasion of the Ukraine last night. Very frightening images. Our hearts go out to all the residents of that country that is now under siege. We have in New York State one of the largest Ukrainian populations outside the country, and we're proud of this. We're proud of their diversity and what they bring to all of us, but now they have family members and are deeply concerned about what's going on in their home country. So we're concerned about those individuals, and our support is with President Biden as he manages through this crisis. And also remind everyone that we are on heightened alert with respect to cybersecurity and our own defenses. We had a meeting with our commissioners over the weekend. We had another announcement with Mayor Adams to announce a joint security operations center to address the threats and to deal with any incidents as they occur. First time in our nation there's been this level of coordination between the state and local governments, and we also are putting money behind those efforts in our budget to beef up our own defenses, but also to make money available to localities to be able to deal with this. So our thoughts are with the individuals who are under siege today. And we are also preparing for a winter storm system that is coming. Now, it seems a little strange. We don't have the piles of snow and the ice out there, but just like in sports and in life, preparation is all about making sure you have good defensive measures in place. So the best offense is a good defense. And that's what we're doing here today. We're preparing and getting the word out about what is in store based on the weather forecast that we're hearing now. To give some latest updates, we have our Commissioner, who's very seasoned in this, Commissioner Jackie Bray, Commissioner of Homeland Security and Emergency Services. We just went through a record-breaking cataclysmic ice storm event just a couple weeks ago in Ulster County. Our own commissioner's house was out power for days, and so we are all seared with the knowledge that this could happen, and we're preparing right now as we're speaking before the first snowfall comes. Also, our Commissioner of DOT, Commissioner Dominguez, who again has been out there on the front lines of this from the very beginning. This has been a long, brutal winter, even though it seems like springtime yesterday and even this morning it's not coming down yet. We know that it's going to change. Also very proud to have our county executive, George Latimer, who's been through a number of storms with us as well, and I want to thank him for what he has done. And at the end of this, I'll give a brief COVID update as well. So the forecast right now is to have a winter storm starting at 10 p.m. tonight, moving from the southwest to the northeast. And the vast majority of the state is going to be impacted by this. I mean, and again, don't be lulled by the lack of snow now. It's going to come very quickly. And upstate, it should be anywhere from 6 to 12, even 18 inches further north. The city, downstate, should be in a decent place, but also, there is a boundary, and you see that right around Poughkeepsie, where we're expecting about 6 to 8 inches in this area. So just because you go to bed and it looks like spring outside, when you wake up, it's going to be a very different world. It's going to feel much more like December. So every county in our state has a winter storm warning, advisory, or watch in place. The warnings are right now at the Capital Region, Mohawk Valley, North Country, Upper Mid-Hudson, and Eastern Central New York. The watches are the southern tier and western parts of Central New York, as well as our advisories are in Western New York, Finger Lakes, Lower Mid-Hudson, New York City, and parts of Long Island. So it's a beautiful color-coded map, but by tomorrow, it'll all be white. That is my prediction. And so what does that mean? Very messy commute tomorrow, and when we say messy, that means that the roads could be dangerous. And we're pre-treating roads already. That's going to continue throughout. You're going to see our trucks out there in advance in preparation to get the roads ready for the onslaught of snow and ice. And our advice is, when you wake up, if you can work remotely, if you can stay off the roads, that allows us to keep the roads clear. If you must drive, please take it slow and easy. And again, anticipation, preparation is how we get through these storms, is having people on the ground before the snow falls, and that's why we've deployed already 5,500 power line men and women from utility companies who are standing ready to support our efforts. We'll let our commissioners talk a little more about the storm, but I do want to talk about the fact that we have incredible resources. The DOT has its plow truck operators, the Thruway Authority has its plows ready to go. We're activating our emergency operations centers in Syracuse, Albany, and New York, as well as I mentioned, the utility workers. So with that, to give you a rundown, I'll call up Commissioner Jackie Bray, and then we'll hear from Commissioner Dominguez from the DOT.
Thank you, Governor, and I want to thank you for your leadership in times of storm. We keep meeting like this. But winter will be over soon, I'm sure. As the governor said, we've got a winter storm coming in late tonight. That storm, as she said, should start around 10 p.m. It's going to move from the southwest in New York City and then sweeping northeast. By 1 a.m., we expect winter precipitation in every single one of our counties. And this storm is going to be worst during the morning commute, during the sort of just after dawn hours and over the course of the morning commute. And so you might look out your window, you might look at the forecast today and say 6 inches, 8 inches, we know how to handle this. Yes, you do. But when that snow comes specifically during the commute, we need to make sure that you're taking and that we're all taking proper precautions. We expect the storm to move out by the end of the day Friday, and we expect relatively just seasonal temps this weekend and no new big snow over the course of next week. What we want New Yorkers to know and do: make a plan today before you go to sleep for what your tomorrow will look like. If you can work from home, work from home. If you can't work from home, leave plenty of time. Commissioner Dominguez is going to talk about the assets that we've deployed across the road statewide, but our Emergency Operations Center is open. All of our warehouses are open. We've been in touch with all of our county executives and county emergency managers to make sure that they have what they need. We don't expect major power outages. We don't expect major ice or major wind. The real hazard here is tomorrow morning's commute. And so as New Yorkers, we know how to keep each other safe. Part of that is being prepared and making a plan tonight to avoid driving, if you can, during tomorrow morning's rush hour. And I just want to say thanks to all of the local and state employees who have been out already preparing and who will be out over the course of the next 48 hours. With that, Commissioner Dominguez.
Good morning. It is really great to join you here this morning, Governor Hochul. It's not quite Friday, but given the season that we've had, it's almost Friday, and therefore we have a storm coming our way. It seems to be the trend this year that coming into a weekend, we're getting a good-sized storm. So I'll tell you personally, one of the really great things about Governor Hochul, one of the many great things about Governor Hochul, is that she's from Western New York. And no one really knows more about snow preparedness and snow prep than she does. So it's always great to have her insights on the team and literally teach us a thing or two about what to do. So Governor, New York State DOT is preparing and has prepared and is already out and executing on this storm. We have a robust operations plan in place, as I said, and we started 72 hours in advance of this storm. First and foremost, this snowstorm, as the governor mentioned, is really going to be impacting tomorrow morning's commuter, anybody using the roadways tomorrow. So it is a work day, but if you don't have to travel, we want to make sure if you can work from home, please do so. Please try and avoid any unnecessary travel tomorrow, and that's statewide. I think that is the most critical thing. If you have the ability to work from home, please do so. Keep the roads clear for our plow operators. The fewer cars there are on the road, the easier it is for our plow operators to do their jobs. And you want them to do their jobs because we want to keep the roadways as safe as possible for anybody who truly has to be out there, including emergency personnel. DOT's assets are ready and deployed. We've shifted our resources around the state to make sure that we've got all the necessary folks in the right places. We've got equipment and personnel ready to go. We've got about 1,750 large and medium duty plows, 326 large loaders, 48 tow plows, and 36 snow blowers in place. Here in the Hudson Valley alone, we've got 297 large and medium duty plows, 56 large loaders, and 4 tow plows, and 1 very large snow blower. To supplement our assets in the Hudson Valley for this storm, we're also bringing in another 34 plow operators and 2 supervisors. We're bringing them in from other parts of the state to make sure that we've got all the assets that we need here in the Hudson Valley. We've also got an additional 6 plow operators who are being deployed to the southern tier from the Mohawk Valley. So bottom line is that we are repositioning our forces where we think we're going to have the most need. DOT is going to be staffed up and operating 24/7 over the course of this event. Our fleet mechanics will also be working 24/7 cycles to make sure all of our equipment is up and operational and we're able to hit the roads as we need to. Just as information towing services are strategically going to be placed around some key locations around the state to make sure that if there are any traffic incidents or crashes, that we really get them off the roadways, towed, get people to safety as quickly as possible. That includes I-84 in Orange County, I-81 in Broome County and Schoharie County, I-88. They're really all across the state. It includes Putnam County, Route 17 in Broome and Sullivan, and 28 in Otsego, and Route 206 in Delaware. We also have tow services specifically that will be utilized in our help trucks for the Hutch, the Cross County Parkway, the Sawmill, the Sprainbrook, and the Taconic Parkways. We are, again, extending all of our beats. We want to make sure that we've got service, particularly targeted tow service and help trucks for the Capital District, up in and around Albany, where we expect to see some higher snow totals, as well as here in the Hudson Valley. I've spent enough winters in New York responding to storms to say that I'm constantly amazed at the efficiency at which our state, led by Governor Hochul, really tackles emergency response. And I want to thank the men and women of the DOT who make that happen each and every day. We do that with our colleagues at Dishes and Thruway, and our county colleagues and our local operations across the board. It really does take everybody to make sure that we keep our roadways safe. So what we do is important. I don't think anybody does it better. And I just want to say thank you to all the men and women who help execute that. I already said try and avoid any unnecessary travel, but if you have to be out, please, please drive slowly. If you see a plow, the road in front of the plow is likely snow-filled. It's got ice, potentially. The bottom line is they're trying to clear any hazardous condition on the roadway. So give our plow operators, give the DOT plow operators space to do their job. They're out there to make our roads safe for all of us. And remember, no way, no how, never ever pass the plow. Governor, thank you so much for your leadership. We always appreciate your support. And with that, I will turn it over to County Executive George Latimer.
Thank you very much, Commissioner, and I want to thank Governor Hochul for her leadership, her organization of state resources, to both commissioners for the work that you've done, and to the men and women of the DOT, those that are here now and those that are preparing to be on duty a little bit later on. My father was a maintenance man, and whenever it snowed or prepared to snow like this, he'd have to leave the house to go to his work site to do the very things that you are prepared to do. And I remember watching him leave in the morning when the weather conditions were the worst. And so on a human level, your families make a sacrifice so that we can have the mobility in our society. We appreciate that. What the governor and the commissioners have laid out at the state level is absolutely essential. We would not have mobility in Westchester County or any of the other portions of New York State without the state's involvement and the great leadership that you've shown. The County of Westchester, as other local governments, have complementary activities as well. Our team is here, Richard Wishney, Emergency Services, our Deputy and Commissioner of Operations, Deputy Director of Operations, Emily Saltzman, and our Director of Operations, Joe McDonald. And the county government will do comparable activities on the roadways that we're responsible for, the Bronx River Parkway, the campus that we're on right now, which is part of a county-owned complex, to make sure that we brine the roads tonight and that we're prepared as best as we can for tomorrow morning in the rush hour. We will keep Westchester County Airport open. I know that MTA has other airports that they're responsible for, same situation, and I know the governor would advise that anyone who's planning to fly out of any of the major New York airports, not just Westchester, should call their carrier in advance. There will be flights canceled today in anticipation of the weather tomorrow, and you should know about that before you either plan to fly out or you plan to pick up somebody who may be flying in. Our Beeline bus system, which is the second largest bus system in the state, we're behind the New York City transit system. We're going to be monitoring conditions and look for our information to determine if we're going to have any restrictions on the schedules or restrictions on the routes. And again, I say that for Westchester, but I know that Mayor Adams and folks at the MTA will have the same principles for New York City transit as well. And we're going to do everything we can, working very closely with the state. Our manpower and your manpower together will keep the roads open. And as we are New Yorkers, we will get through this. And I do recognize, as Commissioner Dominguez said, that Governor Hochul has greater experience in these things from the part of the state that deals with this normally. Those of us downstate, we see it a few times a year, but we're ready for it, and we appreciate your leadership in doing that. We also appreciate your leadership on COVID, and we've tried to work cooperatively with the state. So I give you back the governor, who will give us an update on where we are with the COVID infections.
Thank you, County Executive. And so while our weather forecast overall looks rather dark and foreboding, our COVID forecast is definitely much brighter. So we're looking at our pre-surge levels now. We finally came out of this Omicron variant, which again was named on November 21st, 22nd, and literally within a couple of weeks we had our first cases here in the state of New York. So you look at that graph, it is extraordinary to see where we came from last October to where we are today on early February, our numbers from February 23rd yesterday. So positives, 2,700, which is incredible given that we had been up at 90,000 positive cases just January 7th. We've seen a continuous downward trend over the past 47 days. Westchester, for example, we have only 105 cases. And we've actually, something we're tracking as well, since we suspended our indoor mask requirement, mask or vaccination requirement, we've not seen an increase in cases, which is what we've been monitoring very closely. So that, again, is very good news. Statewide, the positivity is 2.1, again, down from a peak of 23% January 2nd. And daily positivity is continuing to be down below 2.5% for the past 6 days. And so that is great. And Mid-Hudson area where we are today is even below 2%, below the statewide average. So these are truly good numbers. This is a cause of optimism, a sense that we are beyond turning the corner. We are emerging from this. And also our hospitalization, another metric we watch very closely, because hospitals are the lagging indicator. First there's infection, then illness, and then in the more extreme cases there's hospitalization. So we're down to about 2,200 hospitalizations. That's down from 12,000 we just had literally a month and a half ago, so that's incredible. And hospitalizations have been going down for 42 days as well. And we are still losing our fellow New Yorkers. We lost 31 individuals yesterday, and of course one is too many, so we keep those individuals and their families in our hearts and minds. So hospitalizations, again, another stress point that really showed the fracture in our system, that our healthcare system really came through a lot over the last 2 years, and then to be hit with Omicron over December and January, it was really hard. We lost a lot of individuals who left their profession, healthcare workers getting sick themselves, so we really were under a tremendous stressor, and as you all know, we had to take some extraordinary steps, and that was to identify the hardest hit areas, the ones that needed the most help, and those are areas we had to suspend elective surgeries and to have a flex and surge capacity that we're now coming out of. So the great news is all of our hospitals are off the list to have to pause those non-elective surgeries and procedures. So I want to thank all the hospitals who had to go through tremendous stress. They were there with us, constant engagement by myself and my team with our hospitals throughout the state, and now you can see that our hospitalizations are trending down in a great, the red being the statewide numbers, a much better place than we had been just a short time ago, and that's just a stark reminder of what this state and all of our communities had to go through just in very recent time. And vaccinations. This has always been our key to come out of this pandemic and save millions of lives nationwide. And we're going to continue promoting vaccinations. I mean, there is no reason why every New Yorker does not get a vaccination and get boosted, because even when you hear the cases now of people contracting the virus, the symptoms are very minor. It is just dealing with a cold or a flu for a few days, nowhere near what it would have been if we weren't boosted. So I'm proud of the fact that because of our nonstop promotions and talking about this and having New Yorkers who listen to us, we are #1 among the large states for a fully vaccinated total population. We're #1 among large states for fully vaccinated 12 to 17-year-olds, something we've been pushing very intently. And we're #2 in the nation for large states for the category of 5 to 11-year-olds being fully vaccinated. I believe we can get to #1. We can continue to push that, but right now we have nearly a third of that age group. But here's what we can do. Parents whose children are on break, they're here, there's plenty of vaccination sites, it's easy to find, and if you can just take that extra step of getting your children vaccinated, or if they're already fully vaccinated, let them get the boosted, the extra fortification that they have just in case we have to go through this again. So again, our #1s are a source of pride for us. We didn't do it alone. We did it with the help of a lot of New Yorkers who heard the call, understood what they're doing is not just protecting their own health, but the health of their families and their loved ones. So great success there on the vaccinations. And also testing. We're still pushing out the test kits. You know, we amassed over 92 million test kits at a time when many states were scrambling. And we knew that this is a way that if people could find out whether or not they're positive, if they're positive, they self-quarantine, they keep themselves isolated from others, so it's how we stop the spread. And we also knew that this was an important key to keeping our schools open as well. As everyone has heard, for literally 6 months, I've been on the job 6 months today. On that first day, I said we need to ensure that we have an end to remote learning, that every child can be in a school, in a learning environment that is far more beneficial for them educationally, but also for their mental health, because we saw how hard hit our kids were having to learn remotely, the stress that was on the teachers, the stress that was on parents. And so in order to ameliorate that and give people the confidence that they can go into classrooms safely, that is when 6 months ago we instituted the school mask requirement. And as we're coming out of this winter break, I've said this for a number of weeks now, we're watching the numbers. And what I also am doing aggressively is getting out testing kits. We have over 20 million test kits that have already been distributed to schools. 4.8 million were sent to schools just before this most recent break. We're sending another 2 million out next week. So basically, when the kids come back from their breaks, and most of them are on break right now, when they come back, parents, please use those kits. Test your children Monday morning before they head into school. It doesn't take much time. It's not invasive. It's very simple. And then there's enough kits that have been distributed for you to test them again just in a couple of days, just in case they were exposed. If you took a vacation, you went to Florida, Disney World, and there may have been exposure there. So this is just one more way we can make sure that there's not been an increase. And we've seen a few times in past breaks there is an increase, but with more children vaccinated, we're in a much better place. And so we are prepared to stay on the same timeline that I've been laying out for a number of weeks now of what we're going to continue looking at as we make decisions on the school mass. Again, this will always be driven by the data that is in front of us, continuing to reduce the number of cases, the number of hospitalizations. The vaccinations are going up, as well as I said, I'm going to keep my eye on any global trends that are out there, because again, back in November, it seemed like it could be a safe time to start talking about loosening up some of the requirements, and that would have been the wrong decision at that time, given what we know now, looking in the rearview mirror, what happened with Omicron when we were just walloped with a variant that spread like wildfire. So I don't foresee that, but I needed to have the luxury of time to assess that closest to real time, which is what we're starting to approach now. So I'm going to continue working with my team, but also with teachers and parents, the individuals who run the schools, the school superintendents and the school boards, continue to have that constant dialogue that we've been having since the beginning. So we'll be having more announcements on that after the break is over. So with that, we'll take any questions. I'm sorry. That people will be complacent. They'll think that it's springtime, it can't be that bad. I need to get people mentally back into the fact that it is still winter and that people will be smart about this. And when there has not been snow on the roads, they can be very slick. Fresh snow falling during the night. People go out there and they think, well, it's not that bad. Slippery roads mean people end up in ditches or in collisions, and that is dangerous. That is why all of my partners here are asking people to assess whether or not you really need to leave in the morning, or can you just stay until the snow settles down. So I don't want people to get complacent and just say because it looks like spring now that this is still doesn't have the potential to be a very serious winter storm, and that's why we're here today. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. And again, thank you to our DOT workers, our Thruway Authority workers, our emergency personnel, and our county partners, County Executive Latimer, for being on the front lines with us as we battle what I hope could be one of the final winter storms. And yes, they always seem to hit near weekends. And so let's try to break that trend and head into a beautiful spring before long. Thank you, everyone.